Hey, welcome to Game Face Monday. I'm Lee Wolf, and as usual, I'm sitting here with Richie Bello. Today we have returning guest John Grillo from Precise Auto Sales and a special guest, Joe Callejo.
You got it.
All right, of BDC United. How you guys doing?
Very good. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Richie, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for being
thanks
here.
again. Thank you, Richie, as always.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so welcome back, John. And Joe, we just wanted to ask you off the top, whatever you're comfortable sharing with us, just a little bit about your maybe military background and the curiosity of you feel like that helped you in the business world.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm happy to share. United States Marine, 10 years, 4 years active, and 6 years in the reserves. Where do you start, right? Just between the mental and the physical discipline, for sure. I think that translates to the car business. We all know how thick-skinned you must be in order to excel in that industry. So I think it was a good transition, just having that discipline from the United States Marine Corps into the car business and being able to persevere and stay consistent and just not quit, right? Just keep trucking forward. So, and obviously here we are all today. So, but
awesome.
Yeah, it's a good translation. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And Richie, actually, at the top here, would you mind running the VIN Retention Report video?
Sure. I want to show you the data first, and then I'll run the other VIN. Okay, so here's the VIN Retention Report. So it's interesting. What does this do for dealers? It's like a Google Analytics, but on your customers. Now, why wouldn't you want that? There it is. Deep report, well more over than Google Analytics on your customers. And then we also send you out this here. And it tells you how your DMS is looking based on customers, lost, retained, dealer name, dealer URL. So it's a real detailed report. If I'm a dealer, I would want to know this, that's for sure. It helps you clean out your DMS to get ready for DMS marketing and DMS campaign. It works like this: picking custom audience on social media versus picking broad audience. Here is you picking the right audience that are in market. Thank you.
So we all know it's commonplace in the auto industry that customers will come and then they go. But why? Was it a better price? Did they go with a different make? Is it a sales training issue? Maybe it's a marketing problem. And if you knew why, could you take back a portion of that business? First things first, you need data. And Shop Smart Autos for Dealers has your solution, the VIN Retention Report. Our VIN Retention Report can give you the inside scoop on VINs you held onto and the VINs you lost. But that's not all. What if you could know where the customers and your VINs ended up? For example, if Mrs. Smith purchased a vehicle from you 2 years ago and traded that vehicle in a mile away for the same make but a newer model, why didn't she come back to you? Now with that data, you can reach out. You can target her with a service deal that brings her back into your dealership and gives her the stellar experience she's looking for, while potentially flipping her back to your sales floor for a deal she never knew she could get. That's just one way our VIN Retention Report can help. So take 15 minutes with us today, and we'll show you how the power of data can increase your ROI with the Shop Smart Autos for Dealers VIN Retention Report. Set up your appointment today. All right, so the VIN Retention Report is a pretty incredible tool. It could show you your strengths, it could show you your weaknesses, it could show you the VINs you held on to, the VINs you lost. It could even show you where they went, where they ended up. So on the topic of the BDC, I noticed with my short time in the dealership, and I hear it all the time, we're all very quick to blame the BDC for not making appointments, and that's our problem. Okay. And it might be a lack of training. There could be issues there. But with a tool like the VIN Retention Report and all the information that's out there, so we can analyze the entire dealership and know what kind of calls are coming in, how we're targeting people, marketing people, knowing where we're lacking or where our strengths are in the dealership. How should we be looking at the BDC today instead of jumping to point the finger? And is it better to have a virtual BDC? What do you guys think?
Me personally, I like to have BDC in house. A virtual BDC is a good thing for some people that can, that have multiple franchises and want to centralize a BDC department and make everything go through one facility. I don't like outsourcing it personally because I like to be hands-on. That's just my personal opinion on the off-siting BDC.
Let me say about that. I love the virtual BDC because in the turn in the showroom, in the turn from a BDC to the sales department, it's a terrible turn.
Agreed.
Now, the virtual BDC turn is much better as the bigger corporations have the virtual BDC because of the flip. Joe, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that both are correct, right? A virtual BDC is not going to be the one flavor for 100% of dealerships. One thing that we've learned, though, is what's the difference between having your BDC upstairs in a closet, like many are nowadays, where the general manager is or is not active with them, as opposed to being down a few thousand miles of fiber optic cable, right? We're still engaging. So that would be my argument on having in-house or out-house, depending on how hands-on you are. We've found several solutions to really engage, not just with the customer, but with the dealership. How do you have that one-on-one communication and let them know when there's a save a lead, right? Or save a deal in the mornings, right? Hey, how do we handle these leads that have not been engaged with? So that's usually my response to that. What's the difference between having it in-house in the back of your, back of your closet or upstairs or even around the corner, or just down some fiber optic cable, because we're still reaching out the same way. We still integrate with the CRMs. We still have our APIs, auto plugins, still have DMS integration. So as far as connectivity, there really is no difference on our end, in my opinion, with BDC United. There are some challenges with other companies, I'm sure. We've found the way to solve the majority of those. So, but John, I don't disagree. If you have a phenomenal GM, GSM, desk, internet director that is that 1%er, fantastic, right? That's why they're the 1%er. What about the other 99?
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, I wasn't real clear on my answer. Like for a multi-franchise, I'm all for off-siting. But when you're dealing with the mom and pops, the small guys struggling, you have to try to manage it. And, you have to be successful. I mean, these guys all have a million things to do. They're running around with a clipboard. There's nothing written down. So, to answer what you're saying, I mean, if you have my cousin has a bunch of stores and he has an off-site BDC and it works phenomenally. I'm all for that. But I have a lot of mom and pops as well, ones and twosies, and they can't afford to offsite. Well, they can, but they don't want to. And they don't have enough action for the sales team. So they multitask them, rotate them in and out. Different story.
Yeah. And I think we've found some solutions as well, right? Even for those mom and pop stores. So number one, cost, right? We are going to be a more affordable option, but how do you find that boutiqueness, that one-to-one connectivity? And we find a way to engage the salespeople or their one or two BDC agents in-house to work with our team, whether we're the tip of the spear or whether we're the spear itself picking up the long-term follow-up. And then we get into, Richie's data. What are we doing nurturing the DMS and the service drive, all those extra supplemental sales that something like Richie's report would bring to engage and have more activity in the store? Like you said, sometimes there's not enough leads. Well, I'm pretty sure we could find that extra work through the DMS and in Richie's reporting, right? So
absolutely. Well, Richie's reporting, we'd have that extra work that they can afford it.
There you go. Yeah, there's the ROI. Thank you, Richie.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And John, from your experience, so any examples that you could share with us, or how the VIN Retention Report helps your dealerships?
Oh, it helps my dealerships because what you could do is what I'm telling them, because I've been doing this a long time, Richie can tell you. I was doing this before all these third-party lead providers are here. And it's when you put the data in their face and they see that they really grasp that they're losing people. And Richie will tell you, like what I did years and years ago was I would realize that this VIN number would usually come into this dealership every 3 to 6 months for service. And that particular consumer would come in every 3 to 4 years to buy a car. And I developed an algorithm. It was Bluebonnet Technologies at the time. And we'd be able to track that. We'd go 5 years back in service, 5 years back in sales, and we'd develop patterns. And that's how we would go after these people. And we'd realize that they're leaving us for one reason or another. Either somebody pissed them off in service or somebody pissed them off in sales. We have to rejuvenate and instill the confidence back in those customers that that's not the way we operate. They caught a good guy on a bad day. And in 99% of the situations, when we go and we see the pattern, we go back there. If it's a service writer, for instance, or a technician, they're no longer there anyway. So we can call that customer back with intelligent conversation. We realized there was an issue in that area, and we removed that situation. He's no longer with the company. And we get them back in. That's how we did it way back then.
Right.
Yeah, I love it, John. Right? You had the CSI call. How many dealerships are doing that? Maybe it's because of complacency, or maybe it's just because they don't have the data. So where's the call to action, right? So,
nobody's doing it because they're lazy.
Right.
That's one reason for sure.
That's the real reason. Nobody's going to tell it like I will. I'm being honest. I'm in 12 stores a day minimum. And at one point in time, I was in 20 stores a day. You could tell Richie, my wife used to call him to tell me to come home. So, I mean, I am very diligent at what I do. And that's why I developed my new company, because I want the customer to be involved in the whole process with the used car. So I want them to appraise their trade. So we let them do their own appraisal. They go on their phone, they make their own appraisal. While we're getting your car for you to test drive, why don't you do yourself a favor? Like, just give yourself a trade appraisal, and be honest with the questions. And they feel like they're engaged, and CSI goes way up. And retention goes way up.
And what we can add, Richie?
So let's talk about something, history, right? There was a company named Coin. Then Reynolds bought Coin. And there was only two, ADP Dealer Services and Reynolds. Right. So direct mail came into the marketplace. At the time, I was with Augo Polk & Company, okay? So they were having a problem with direct mail from the DMS. And they would buy registration data and title data and promote it. So here was the solution that they came up with. Augo Polk & Company cleansed the data, whether it was Reynolds, because they were DMS, or Dealer Services or ADP Dealer Services. Then when that was clean, then they were targeting that direct mail based on registration. Well, there's a little problem with registration data. What is it? Registration data takes 90 days, right, for you to get, okay? And now you clean it. 90 days, the party's over, right? And it has to take 90 days because of DMS, DMV, right? It has to be, you put a temporary tag. By the time it goes here, it takes 90 days. Right. With this data we came up with, because everything's online now. Every dealer puts their inventory online. We have every dealer in the country, new and used. So now it's real time, right? To cleanse their DMS. So that's the problem. That's always been a problem in the car business, where somebody bought a Honda Accord and you keep sending them a direct mail piece, and they got a Toyota for the last 5 years and nobody cleaned it. And that was a big issue. You could actually look up the press release. Augo Polk & Company merges with Reynolds, and Reynolds cleaning up DMS data. It's still out there. So that was the history of it, right?
Yeah.
It still was a problem because we were not online. That back then there was not a lot. Nobody was online, right? So I mean, the website was Cobalt back then, right?
Yeah.
And that was the problem. So when I saw the opportunity for ShopSmart, I didn't really see the opportunity in the leads, right? I saw more the opportunity in the data, right? So I says, wow, they still cleanse the data with registration data. A lot of companies that do that, but this data is real time. This data is, there's a trade in a dealership, boom, I know it the same day because I'm tracking that VIN number. That's what I'm doing. Tracking the VIN number versus the customer. And when it comes to custom audience, the dealer wants to make up custom audience on their competitor. I know how to do that too. You get the data of that vehicle that's not there no more, right? And you look at the VIN number and you cross-reference it with registration data, and now it gives you the name and phone number of who's a new owner. And now you're targeting that customer back to your dealership. So that's custom audience, right? And the data is out there. And then when you get that information, then you just can spin it right into get their email and all that, because all that's public information. I have access to that, you know. So it's very important to understand what the VIN retention really is. It's a tool, but it's a tool in steroids for you to get your own audience. And Mr. Dealer, save money on Google and start marketing your data, because let's face it, if you have a previous customer, you're going to make more money than a new customer. Your sales department will do less work because he doesn't have to sell on the dealership, on him. You know, he's been there a long time. That customer comes in, knows the dealership, knows the receptionist, knows how the dealership operates. Right.
Yeah, Richie, so like trust also, right? But when you're ahead of the sales cycle, that customer hasn't had the time to shop you with their 5 local competitors, whether you're rural or in the city, right? You know, if you know that buying cycle, that customer's buying cycle is every 3.5 years, like John, you had figured out way ahead of the time.
Well, I got lucky.
Yeah, solicit them, email, text, phone call, right? Use the people power. And hey, you've had X car for X amount of time, and your APR is this, and your equity is this. We'd love to buy your car, right? Something as simple as a buyback campaign. Well, now you're ahead of the cycle. Customer may or may not have been in the market, but that's where the training comes into play, and we use our expertise and our skills. So, dead on, Richie.
And listen to this. The other thing is CarMax. We all know that CarMax blew up in COVID. I went to CarMax while COVID. I was in Orlando, and I went to the first CarMax, and then I went to Virginia, and they showed me the process. Their process is from the time they sell you the car, 3 months after they're hitting you up. Listen, the up appreciation, back then it was up appreciation, getting that customer back in and back in. Their profits were crazy because they kept engaging with that customer and getting that customer back, buying the trade and flipping it into another car. They did that for millions of customers, okay? That's why they grew. You're doing an outreach on DMS, right? And campaigns, that's very, very strong because you're touching base with the dealer's customer, okay, that is in market, okay? And we have that data versus the in market where they bought somewhere else, and you can do a campaign for service, you can do a campaign for sales, you can do a campaign for used cars, you can do trade-in campaigns. It's a very important process. Now, what I see to that is, why wouldn't you do that? Lower your cost per acquisition instead of increasing it higher, and the Google AdWords and all that. That's a lot of money, Mr. Dealer. I mean, you can lower your cost per acquisition and increase your retention, because if your sales retention is like that, like I just showed you, I can show you 30 reports about their retention. Your service retention is bad. Why are vehicles in operation shotgunning from all over the place? Why are dealers losing vehicles of operation. They're not. We actually have more vehicles in operation than we ever did, but they're not belonging to that dealership. They're all over the place. Well, why is that? Well, real simple. They used to have a loyalty program when I was with R.L. Polk and Company. He's the one that did this loyalty program, right? There's no loyalty program anymore. So there's just price on rebates. So whoever has the best deal wins, okay? There's no loyalty program. I tell dealers, do something in-house. Why wouldn't you? You know, instead of going out and spending $40,000 a month on Google AdWords and Facebook and Instagram, I can never comprehend that. I can never understand that, and that's why we came up with this solution.
Well, one of my dealers that is using your data, Richie, that we both know, it's a group, and they learned so much because they're constantly chasing to get new customers, and they're not realizing 5 years from now, if they use the same approach, they're going to be in the same situation that Richie supplied data. Finally, I got them to listen to me, and they realized we really don't have to go so hard at getting new customers. If we could retain the people we have, we'll have the business we need to succeed. And the new customers will be gravy, But we're losing so many new customers, we're constantly plugging holes. And Richie's data shows you why, which is the solution. And my stubborn dealer principal at this particular group finally changed the culture, and now he's using your data, Richie. And in the short term, you know what I'm talking about, is seeing tremendous results, and he's stopping the money to go get new customers and spending a little bit more money on retaining what he has.
Grillo and myself went to Dealer Academy, right? So you open up the financial statement. We're both cadet from the Dealer Academy, right? So you open up the financial statement, your compensation, right? Your fixed ops, right?
Yep.
And then you got your advertising. If you can lower your cost of acquisition by 10%, you got
right.
10%, and that goes right to the bottom line. So why?
And in any one of the areas can contribute
the money, because the old school dealers would take guys like me and Grillo and sponsor them to Dealer Academy to get educated before we were GM. Said, hey, anybody's a GM. You know what anybody is? You don't have to go to Dealer Academy today. Oh, he's a good salesman. Let's make him a GM. And that's not a
right.
GM. A top salesman is not. I hated to be a sales manager or a GM. You know why? Because I only cared about me. A GM has to care about the team. I was not about the team. I could care less, right? So but they made you, because you're a top guy, they put you as a GM, which is the wrong approach. Without getting any education, without you really knowing the numbers, without you knowing the daily operating control, without you knowing the journals, without you knowing a real GM, that's what they do. Today, everybody's a GM. I talk to these people, everybody's a GM. I don't say much, but the truth of the matter is you got to look at your fixed ops, your labor rate, your effective labor rate, okay? Your parts. Are you wholesaling parts? What percentage are you wholesaling? Because when you wholesale parts at 40%, that's costing you service business. They don't teach you that. They don't teach you that. These GMs that say that, they don't teach you that. It's a number. Your appraisals, okay? How is your used car manager appraising a car? All right.
That's me. That's why I came to play.
Is he undervalued? What is it? There's so many things going on in the car business where it's like not what it was, right? And now we can get right back to, hey, listen, let's educate our GMs. Let's show them how it is. You got to look at analytics, and all that VIN retention report is Google Analytics on your customer, Mr. Dealer. Why wouldn't you want that? Let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't you want that?
Well,
I don't understand.
So from what I understand, John and Richie, there's a offer on the table, right, for dealers that are interested?
Absolutely.
Well, every time John signs somebody up, it's on him. He takes care of the VIN retention on him. He orders it, boom, every time there's a sign up, you know. And I have a lot of people like that. That's why we got all these groups now, right? And the same thing for Joe, you know. Here it is, take it, you know, do it. Show the dealer when you got software, right? The whole thing is to give your software up to see what the value is. It's not leads, you know, it's my data, it's our data, right? It's a software. Here you go, boom. It's analytics, you know. Why wouldn't you want analytics? And you know, when you're selling a dealer, well, Mr. Dealer, I think you need my service. Well, I really don't. Oh, really? Let me show you something. Boom. You show him this, and now he knows he needs your service, because when his retention is, when he's at 74% and he's keeping only 30%, you know, what are you spending on advertising? You're doing the same numbers, but what are you spending on advertising? Would you like to lower the cost of acquisition, or would you like to increase it? Because you can increase it too.
Right.
Would you like to lower that, and that number goes right to the bottom line? You know, you got to be able to talk to a dealer where, you know, we both went to Dealer Academy, me and Grillo. That's why Grillo's on the road with 20 stores a day. His wife calls me. Do you know where he is? What do I look like? I don't know. I know.
You might not. You might know the state, but not the city, right? Because he's on.
Well, I mean, he's on the road because that's the kind of presentation he's got. He went to Dealer Academy just like me, so we were both trained, you know, by NADA Academy. So now we know. So, Mr. Dealer, why wouldn't you do that? And you know, and they look at you like you have three heads, and then they say, "Oh yeah, you know, that makes sense." I said, "You can continue spending more money." The cost per acquisition. Some deals are $800 and $1,000 a copy. That's absurd. Absurd. That is nuts.
Ridiculous.
Are you mean to tell me that it's costing you $1,000 to deliver a car? Something wrong with you. When you have all this data, when you have all these customers throughout 4 years in your DMS, why aren't you reaching out to them? It's absurd. Why? Because it's Google Analytics. Why? Because it's Google AdWords. Why? Because it's Google, right?
100%.
Now you have a solution of knowing Google Analytics on your customers. If Google will come up with that product, every dealer in the country would sign. Every dealer in the country would sign. Because you know what it is? Measuring your customer, knowing what your retention is. Nobody has that. Right now, nobody has that.
I think it's sales via education, just like we're doing right here, right now. We talked about the layers of BDC, whether it's the internet department or whether it's salespeople, right? Depending on how you pass the leads on, whether it's a former customer or a new customer, there's just so many ways to attack them. But with that type of data, you know, are we going after a customer, like you said, that did buy and now it's gone? Well,
right.
Think about that conversation you can have when you call your previous customer. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you know, notice we haven't seen you in 3 or 4 years. You know, it looks like you did trade that Honda Accord. Well, how do you know that, right? Depending on the relationship is how you attack the question or and respond.
I would, let's say I'm a dealer. I will bring in Joe. I say, Joe, here's my report, okay? I'm losing 70% of my retention. Tell me what you can do to increase my retention. Forget about appointments. Forget about all that nonsense. My retention, because when I bring up my retention, I'm only going to say cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Sure.
I want to have previous customers walk into Joe, tell me what you can do apart from your appointment setting. Because that's important to a person like me and when I'm a dealer. Why? Because I save money in training. Why do I save money in training? Because it's not the same as a fresh walk-in that doesn't know your dealership. Then you got to do the whole service walk. You got to convince them that why they should buy from you. So that's already done. Half your job is already done. Okay, now you got the laydown factor. A customer buys a car from you in 3 years, comes back. You don't have to do that whole show. When a new customer comes in, meet, greet, demo ride, service walk, introduce them to the reception. When you have a problem, even though you didn't sell a car yet, this is Joanne, and Joanne will take care of you. When you got a service problem, I want you to meet Joe. He's your service advisor. I'm planting the seed without them sitting down and negotiating. That's a lot of work. That's being a stockbroker. Boom, boom. Not a seed, a mango. Okay. And that customer, I tell you, all buyers are not present. When that customer is buying, when you got a repeat business coming in, they both show up and say, we want to trade this for an upgrade or downgrade because we had a problem with our finances. Right? So that's it. So they're telling you what they want, the wants and needs. And now you're just putting it together. Now you're becoming more of a consultant.
Yeah. And imagine having that connectivity, whether it's an in-house or a virtual BDC, of calling that customer from 3 years ago and bringing them in and letting that salesperson, John Smith, Susie Q, hey, by the way, we have your customer coming in that bought that Toyota Tundra in 2018. Her Apple CarPlay, it doesn't have Apple CarPlay, and that's all she cares about. Coming in, now there's a vehicle ready up front. They have the rapport. I mean, what's your closing rate going to be there? 80, 90% as opposed to 20, 30% nowadays, right? For a fresh walk-in.
Right. One guy like Joe looks like a superstar when he's got a retention. But he doesn't look like a superstar. None of the BDC people look like when you're making appointments in your sales department. They're not salespeople today, bro. They're not salespeople. They look at you like you have, I don't know what. Instead of taking the customer, boom, 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 close. They don't do that no more. They don't do service walks. I go to dealership in Florida. I was like in 19 dealerships, right? For 3 days, we went to 19 or 20 dealerships. Let me tell you something. I was watching. They don't do a service walk. The customer comes in, they sit them down, they right away start talking about numbers. If I'm a GM, you know, ask Grillo, when I was a GM, what I used to take the paper and shove it down somewhere. Because if you don't do the service walk and the demo and meet and greet and plant the seed, all right, and when there's a trade, do a trade evaluation. If you didn't do these steps, I was not even talking to you about a number. Okay, and that's the way it is, man. And you guys know, all you gotta do is go to a store and say, before I turn on your store, Joe, for an example, Mr. Deal, before I turn on your store, I would like to go to your store and observe it. You just added value to yourself. You just told the dealership that you care about your business, but you care about his business. Before you on, Mr. Dealer, let me know. I want to be there a couple of days. Book me for a couple of days to make sure that the integration between the sales department and me is fit. Oh, you know what you just did right there? You added Mr. Value. You became Mr. Value. That dealer says, whoa, take it easy. That's different from you. If I had a BDC, that's what I would do, because you got to see if the integration fits. It's like an API, right? If you have old technology and you have data, that API is not to today's standard, not going to work. If you have a data center and you have old technology, the same way. Well, sales is the same way. And BDCs turn on stores right away. Just let's get the money first. And then you know what happens in 90 days? You're a history, right? And the whole idea is for BDCs to have retention. That's the whole idea, because you might have to hire a trainer to show these salespeople, because you're going to make that appointment, and then the dealer's going to look at that spreadsheet and says, Joe, wait a minute. You made all these appointments. I didn't sell one car. All the dealership cares about is selling it. I don't blame them. Me too. I only care about selling too. Nothing really matters.
And I bring in, without gross, there's no lights on, right? So, but
right,
it's being a profit center, not a cost center, right? How do we actually increase ROI? Because as we know, people are expensive, right? Payroll.
Gross is not a dirty word. We got to remember, you could get an $8 steak and you got a $25 steak. Was that steak gold? Was that cow made of gold? It's all about process, you know. It's you got to take care of your people and your process. People right now are still reading maps when you got Richie's data, which is Google Maps. Yet they still choose to go and read the map to where they got to get to, when Richie could just show you how to get there.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I'm not a big fan of a chuck steak, but a nice A3, A5 Wagyu. Sign me up, I'll be there. So
right, me too. I'm touche. I agree.
When I developed the VIN Retention, the first guy that I talked to was Joe, because Jeff used to work at eBay, right? So I rocked eBay when nobody was rocking it. So Jeff knows of me, right? So he reached out to me. I want to introduce you to this BDC guy that I know, blah, blah, blah. I said, tell me a little bit about him. He told me he was a vet, so that turned me on a lot, because I have a nonprofit, you know? Said, okay. What's his age? And he tells me his age. I said, okay, so let's talk then. It was not ready yet. I was doing A/B testing. Now the accuracy on it from major auto groups are 98.7%. 98.7%. Registration data was 85%. Title data is 90%. Because we have all the tools pointed at cars. The movement of cars, okay? It costs a lot of money to do this. A lot of money to get this going. So this is very important because it's going to help dealers. It's going to help guys like Joe, BDC. And I don't really want in a lot of BDCs. I might just want Joe to do it.
Yeah, but a lot of Joe's, Joe's strengths and what he does, what I do, in conjunction with what you do, we would become a success story in any dealer that we go into, and we would make it successful by accident. It would work. I mean, just because we're using the tools that make sense.
There's a trainer called Anthony Angola, right? He never worked in the car business, never worked in the showroom. He's one of the best trainers, hands down, that I've ever met in BDC. Hands down. And he never even worked in the showroom.
Is he with CarMax? Is he with CarMax?
No, he's with, he's got his own thing, appointments that show. He is hands down. He used to work with Sean Bradley. I know. Never worked in the car business. Never, ever worked in the car business. Hands down. Now, why is he good? Why is he so good? Because he is not fractured by the car business. He is not messed up by the car business. A veteran, unbelievable guy, good friend of mine. Really, some guy's great. He is one of the best trainers that I have ever witnessed in BDC, because the rest of the trainers come from the car business, so they come from their heads all jammed. And this guy is so strong, such a mindset strong. You hire this guy, your people are going to get trained the right way, professionally and everything. He is amazing, and dealers hire this guy.
That's awesome.
This guy is the best trainer I've ever seen, ever in the car business in BDC. Unbelievable what he does and how he trains you. And he's not in the car business. So that being said, is because the dealers have a way of messing people's heads up, right?
Of course, yeah. I think Richie is telling us that we need to seek help here. So
absolutely.
And that's the most important thing. He is by far one of the best trainers I've seen, and you got Wendy. Wendy's a really good trainer. Wendy will put people on there. I mean, she's unbelievable. She has a lot of virtual BDCs that she is the trainer for, and she's very good at what she does. She's a personal friend of mine. She lives out in Arizona, and every time I go there, I see her because she's a good friend of Richie's. She's unbelievable. And when I show her that data, she's helped me out a lot with that, and it's out there now. Because I had to get the accuracy up, the data science guys, it's a lot of work. But now this is like Google Analytics on your customers, your own customers. So it's unbelievable. And a guy like Joe, that's personable, that has a great team. Mr. Dealer, why wouldn't you get this guy to handle your business? And he listens, and he's got tremendous amount of discipline. What is it about veterans? The discipline they have. You post on veterans. When it's Veterans Day, it's just like a marketing tool. Well, guess what? Hire a veteran, all right? Because that tells me really none of them do. None of them do. I had a product called Richie Bello Institute, which now is going into real estate. None of them hired one veteran. The veterans know that. The veterans know that you're just doing a marketing show. This guy here, he's a veteran, and I've been dealing with him for about a year. Plus, I see his discipline. I see how good he is, and I know how he could scale. And he's scaling right now because he's on social media. He's moving the needle. He's doing videos. Unbelievable what he's doing. I tell you what, I'm proud of you, Joe. Congratulations. And from now, sky's the limit.
Yeah, Yeah, no, we're excited to partner up with you and take it, take it to the moon, take it to the stars. But just humbly, right? One person is just that, right? One person. So having great people like yourself and experienced, car people like Lee and John, it's you got to use the tools in your toolbox, right? You can't use a hammer to screw in a nail. But
Yeah. So a wise man once told me, none of us are as great as all of us, and it always stuck with me.
Very, very, very true. So there's so much to go around, and the car business is so big yet small, right?
Yeah.
So much expertise out there. I know the last 20 years, the internet age has taken over, and the digital retailing tools and everything's out there. But you would have thought 20 years ago where we'd be today would be 20 years in the future, right? We're so far behind the times, and this data, I mean, we all know this. If I went to 10 dealerships here, I'm from South Florida. I live here in Coral Springs. And I went to, South Florida, Southern California, Atlanta, Chicago, New York. We know the prime metropolitan areas where the majority of cars, the doggy dog world, right? I'll bet you we went to 9 out of 10 stores here, even with Richie's presence, people would have no idea what we're talking about. So it's our job.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big fan of that, right? Sales via education. And the great operators and partners, they'll understand it and they'll be on board. So,
and the virtual BDC is very easy for a dealer. Mr. Dealer, how much money does it cost you? Sure. Let's look at the department. Let's dive in on your financial statement. Boop. Okay, $35,000 on average. Okay, I'm much cheaper and more effective.
Correct. You don't have to pay insurance.
$25,000. I should be charging you $10,000 a month. Mr.
And when the dog eats your homework, guess what? We still work. So they
right.
Take that $25,000. Put me in front of these dealers that you have a hard time losing. How much does the department cost you? $35,000 between healthcare, this, that, payroll, and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
You need to pay me, Mr. Dealer, $15,000 because I just saved you 50%. Are you kidding me? If somebody gets me $100,000, right, and I get $50,000 out of that guy's my friend for life.
Yeah,
you're saving the dealer so much money.
That's what we like to say. We should be a profit center, right, not a cost center. Whether you're virtual or in house, regardless. Now, we know the cost of a body, right? So, simple math. If you're receiving 500 leads, well, are we working those leads for 7 days, or are we doing them for 90 days? And forget about the internet lead 90-day follow-up. We all know you probably need about 6 to 7 BDC agents minimum. No one's staffing that many people for 500 leads a month, right? They're going to follow up that lead for 2 to 3 weeks, and it's a bad lead. Well, what about everything else we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes here? What the data mining? Who's going to do that?
Right.
The service to sales.
Absolutely.
More to their plate. Now, in John's defense, right, if you do have that great dealership partnership where they can handle in-house and they have salespeople that are actually making the calls, fantastic. But,
that's very small percentage. Very small percentage of dealers can do it.
Yeah, it's the dealerships that are using people like us and you and our other business partners out there that are educating them. So, but
listen, virtual is going to be more cost effective. It's going to be you're going to get more because that's all you do is what you're doing, so it's going to be more effective, cost effective to the dealerships. I was talking about on a small individual basis.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, what I gotta say about that, first of all, you got the thing that happened last night. I was never into that. I was a young guy, and I was never into that chasing females. They start going into the BDC, yapping.
Oh yeah, that happened.
The activity right there is out the window. That part is gone. Then you got a headache. You got an employee that runs back and forth to the service department to appointment, slips. Now you got a problem. Now you got another headache, right?
Yeah.
So 2 headaches that, what I say, I'll give you a headache that'll never go away. Okay. So now you got 2 headaches, right? The third headache is your payroll and your insurance and all that. I give it to a guy like Joe all day long if I'm a dealer, all day. And he's not charging me enough money of the value I see.
I know.
Numbers. I look at my financial statement and go, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Then I look at my casualties and go, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And then I look at my health, and I say, oh, wait a minute. How much you charge me? Go ahead, go. Even if he does not such a great job, okay,
He's going to do better than what they have.
It's way better than they have. I mean,
right?
Are you kidding me?
So yeah, so our company guarantee is, it's just an easy elevator pitch, right? But typically we're 50% of the cost, and we guarantee a 5-to-1 ROI.
Right.
That's awesome.
And those are pretty conservative numbers. We're a big fan of under promising and over delivering, right?
Absolutely.
That's the way it's got to be.
It's a very easy sell. For a minute, I'm going to put Grillo's company on here so we see the product.
Everyone knows customers dread the trade-in, and salespeople hate it too. But many dealers use trade-ins as a lead generator, advertising gimmicky offers, or they use the do-it-from-your-couch estimators like Kelley Blue Book or TrueCar to hook customers with a price range that doesn't make sense. But when customers get to the dealership, that estimate goes out the window. Grade Your Trade will revolutionize your trade-in process, helping you to boost your CSI, increase your profits, and grow your sales. And if that wasn't enough, this game-changing system can also boost your sales in 2 other areas of your dealership. To learn more about Grade Your Trade, give us a call or email us and schedule a time to meet with your Grade Your Trade representative today.
Now, here's a little take on that. I'm a dealer, right? That's a good product. Okay. So what do you rather? Go to Manheim and get packed, whacked, and smacked $700 or $800 by the time the car comes home? And then if that car is not right, arbitration, send the car back. I mean, you got to get your head examined if you think I'm going to do that, okay? I'm going to reach out to my customer, try to get their trade, and if they're trading, if they're selling their car, they're not walking or taking the bus. They're in the market for a car. Okay, so why wouldn't Mr. Dealer get this product too? Right? It's something to think about. Well, wait a minute. Get Grillo on the phone. I'm gonna get Grillo on the phone and get him in here right now, because pack, whack, and smack 800 by the time that car hits home. Right? Oh, absolutely. And I have this gentleman, Mr. Grillo, that I can reach out and get trade-ins. Forget about the trade-ins. Oh, you think that they're just selling the car? You don't think that, what do you think, that they're taking the bus or walking? So now you got a lead generation, like I always say. What I want to do is turn this right here. Turn your DMS into your marketplace. Stop cars.com. Stop all these nonsense. That is like beating a dead horse. And I'm a marketplace, but that's not why I build my marketplace for lead gen. My lead gen wants to come from DMS.
Yeah.
That's where my lead gen. I'm a directory more, right? We're identifying the customer that's in the market where the local dealerships are. And I got all the feeds because of this. So, it's a very important thing to even think about these things. Dealers, start educating yourself. We're in 2024, okay? The evolution is here, and it keeps scaling and scaling and scaling. Stop spending money. Keep that money that goes right to your bottom line. I get a trade-in. Every trade-in is $800 for me. And now I have a story because as my own customer, I know the service story. So when I'm selling it, this car came in from my store. I sold it brand new.
Absolutely.
What do you think? What do you think that's going to do when I'm in front of a customer?
And another thing, Richie, not to cut you off, I just had something I want to mention. When the consumer's in the dealership, right, and you got a used car manager and you got 20 salesmen, hypothetically, or 10 salesmen, and that used car manager has to appraise every trade. Believe me. 90% of the time, he's telling the salesman to go run around the car and come right back. Is there any major damage? They don't look. They're looking very little, and they're not educated enough to see. But if you give it to the consumer while you're going to get the car and say, listen, while I'm away, why don't you just grade your own trade this way and get you the best value when I come back? And they do these 10 questions, and after a year plus fighting, we got it to push to V-Auto, so we get all the data. You could walk your service line on Saturday when there's waiters and say, hey, listen, while you guys are waiting, you get 10% off your next service. Why don't you grade your trade? We might have somebody interested. You can get yourself a new car. So you get all this data for nothing. and it's automatically pushing the V-order. The used car manager doesn't have to come in and re-put it in. It's already in. And now the customer, believe it or not, is more honest in the trades. I'm not than the salesman. I'm not saying salesmen are dishonest, but I'm saying it. So here's what I will say. Not all of them. I'm just saying, when they don't know something, they won't tell you they don't know it. They'll just wing it. But the customer, when they know they're grading their own trade and it's going to be their report card, they're more open with, oh, well, it does have scratches. The things you wouldn't even look for, they're admitting.
Yeah.
And it devaluizes what they're looking for the trade. And then at the end, they're going to get a good, fair, and excellent condition. And a little description on what that good, fair, and excellent consists of, and it's a good value for the consumer as well as the dealership to get the trade.
John, imagine having the writer or whoever checks that person in the drive, right? A lot of dealerships are working with tablets now. Imagine if every single customer was offered that, say 50 ROs a day, right? 50 to 70, depending on the brand, how busy is the service drive. What's the conversion rate? Say it's 1%, which I'm sure is much higher.
It is.
Take that times 365 days. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million of additional gross on the annual docket, right? So
if I told you what I charge, right? And then if I tell you what one of my dealer groups are doing, which I just caught wind of, is they're doing a $39.95 complimentary trade appraisal with my program. While customers are waiting in line, they're getting 40 a person and giving them 10% off their next service. They're making more. They're getting my service for free, basically. Yeah. And they're getting so many trades because the consumers are honest, and they're getting so much more service customers activity asking. You have to, they're asking the writers about it. Do you have it? And what I like the service manager to do is pick out 3 of those cars and have the used car manager come out and say, we have a big interest in these 3. Would you mind if we appraise them while your car's being serviced?
Yes.
Now you go back and you leave them alone for 10 minutes, and before you know it, they're saying, well, what happened? Are they interested in my car? Are they interested in my car? Are they interested in my car? They're not talking about, they only want to know if their car is, that we have an interest. Yes, we have an interest.
We always have an interest. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you wouldn't believe this. We had someone come in yesterday. They were looking for a car just like yours.
Right. I'm telling you, my biggest
favor, just please give us a couple minutes here. We love you to give us an honest opinion of your vehicle. I think you'd be impressed with the offer that we might be able to provide you.
And you got to remember this last thing. Let's say you had a car that you appraised at $18,000. Hypothetically, the customer wanted $19,500. All the money was $18,500. You have a customer coming in to look for that trade on your used car lot. You don't have it, and they want to pay $21,000. You could call that customer and say, listen, I'm going to give you a 19. I just had somebody come by very interested. When can you come down? You make an appointment, have them both come down. One, you give a demo car to drive around for an hour and a half. You show the car. You have a virtual BDC of consumer cars.
There you go.
Virtual inventory.
Listen to this, right? 1 minute. I go to a dealership in Florida. I'm with somebody that's a good friend of mine that's selling him, right? And he introduces me and he says, oh, Richie. And they says, are you into sport? I says, yeah, actually I am. I'm in the sport of selling. And I says, would you like to play? Okay. That's the problem. Back in the day, 20 years ago, all the dealers were in selling. They're not no more. They don't even know about the sales process that much anymore because they're bombarded with all this technology in a dealership that they got to learn. It's a whole different animal, right? Hire somebody to do that. Hire a data science, hire an IT guy. Don't you get involved with that because your head will pop, okay? Your head will pop. Keep focusing on your sales department, not this massive technology, this AI. I don't want to know any of that. You know what I want to know? You're a customer. Hey, you're sitting down with me. I'm going into your pocket and taking your money right out like this.
Joe, believe me, you could do this in any dealership.
Technology for me. Who cares? Who cares about the technology? I don't want to change what I am good at and what I do to learn something now that's going to be bombarding me. No, I don't want to do that, man. I want to get in front of a customer and wrap it up. It's a wrap, like I said. Done. Okay? That's what I want to do. Forget about that. And that's the problem with dealers. They don't even understand Joe's process. They used to understand it because they were in tune with that. Now, today, with this technology, that Google Analytics data, all this kind of stuff is just throwing them completely off because they don't hire the right people. I know of 2 groups that have data science people, 2 large groups. Nobody else does. You need a data science team. That's what you need.
Don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? So.
Right. Lithia's got the best data science team I've ever seen.
Yeah, we partner with Lithia in their driveway program, so I can second that. I'm extremely familiar, and
they're unbelievable.
They got it figured out.
They got it figured out, and that's what it is. That's why that group is scaling. AutoNation, that's why it's scaling, because they are another one, have one of the best data science guys there is. You got to have a new department, Mr. Dealer. It's just like when the sales people were taking the phone, you opened up a BDC. Well, the same way with data. You got it, because the stores that have that data science department are knocking them dead. And you don't know why. Well, that's what I got to say.
Because they're not shooting a bullet in the air and hoping a duck flies into it. They're aiming.
Right.
That's why.
I like that. All right, gentlemen. On that note, I think we're going to wrap things up here. John, Precise Auto Sales, Joe, BDC United, thank you both for being here today. Share the show if you can, get the word out.
Absolutely.
And if anyone would like to reach out to Richie directly, it's richie.bello@shopsmartautos.com. And Richie, I'll leave the close with you.
Well, guys, I want to thank you, both of you, so much for what a great podcast. One of the best podcasts I think I've done in a long time. Joe, I'm very grateful I met you and you're in my life, and thank you for that. Grillo, like always, you're great at what you do. Lee, thanks a lot. I'm very grateful for you for having such a great quality show. You're doing a great job. It's unbelievable. Thank you, guys. God bless every single one of you.
Pleasure meeting you.
So, Joe, let's talk if you have time tomorrow, right? And somebody, and I'll give you that VIN retention. Every store you sign up and go out there, I know your data. I know any store you sign up is totally on me. Complimentary.
Yeah, I got it. I got a 2 o'clock, and then after I'm done that, I'm gonna call my Leaf and Tim and see, just kind of run it through them. I know we've spoken about it a couple times, and then maybe throw like 15-20 minutes on the calendar tomorrow or this week, so you can just run through it, I guess, with them. That way they just represent you correctly.
Like it's yours. Let's brand it like you're giving that to the customer.
That's fine. Yeah, whatever's.
It's your gift. You're giving that to the customer. That's how important that customer is to you. You're making an investment in the customer, so that way they don't know it's me. All right?
No, I like it too. I think also could be a good closing tool, right? If we do a demo and say we don't close them on the first 1 or 2 calls, hey, let us give you a complimentary assessment. So what we do is we shop them on the internet lead sales process, but we could also still give them that data of, hey, you're bleeding. We can stop this bleeding now. Forget about even the internet sales part of things. That's what you were interested in.
Right.
Look at all the supplemental side of the revenue that we could just, number one, save you and earn you. So I have some really good ideas.
Correct.
I'm gonna brainstorm with the team, and then we'll try to connect again.
And just add that value to your company. You are giving that to the customer.
No, I appreciate it, Richie. Thank you very much.
Thank you, bro. You know I love you, right?
Love you too, man. Thanks for reaching out.
I always did, bro. You're my guy, all right, bro?
Yeah, buddy.
Peace. Bye-bye.
All right, later, buddy.